Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we are going to talk about the Salesforce integration and the capabilities. So these days the Fortune 100 companies are also using the Salesforce integration capabilities in a enhanced way. So we are going to discuss what are the integration patterns and what is the Salesforce architecture that we are going to use for all these integrations on a brief. So let's get started. So Salesforce integration landscape. So this is how the Salesforce integration landscape on a high level would look like. So Salesforce and the external system, if they would like to connect to each other, that's where the integration landscape comes into the picture, right? So API architecture is one of the main key thing that comes into the picture. And if there is a middleware that we would like to use between these two systems, then good. We can go ahead and use that middleware integration system. The recommended way is to have a middleware integration always in place because in case tomorrow the example Clontive system goes away, then we don't need to do a rework in between. So that's where the middleware integration comes in the picture. And real-time capabilities. So we can share the data between two systems using the platform events, change data capture and the streaming API for the minimal latency. So we have security in place. Authentication is a security and enforced by TLS encryption and multi-tenancy architecture has been implemented in Salesforce that you all know. So this ecosystem encompasses multiple technologies and approaches designed to address various integration scenarios, right? There is a framework that allows enterprise to connect a Salesforce with virtually any external system. Meanwhile, they maintain the security as well, and all the solutions that we will be providing is scalable. So that's how the landscape would look like on a high level. So let's move on to the next slide. How the architecture look like? So it's a composite of API and a bulk API and SOAP and REST APIs. Right, these are the combinations that we have when we talk about the architecture. So Salesforce API architecture implements a RESTful design, so that supports both simple and complex integration. So we use RESTful designs as of today in every all of the systems, which is good. So this will handle a complex integration patterns as well that you already know. Bulk API is something that is available in Salesforce where it helps to have a huge data transferred to a different system or an external system. So mostly the bulk API is a scheduled job that gets triggered at the night times in order not to disrupt the business functionality in the business time, right? So this is where a bulk API comes into the picture, and we can use this method to transfer a huge amount of data. When we talk about large volumes, this is the technique that comes into the picture, right? And then REST and SOAP APIs, as and when a data gets created and it has to be synced with the other system, that is when the REST and SOAP API comes into the picture. So that is about the high level of architecture of APIs in Salesforce. Right. So performance measurement framework. So we have to measure the performance of each and every API. Otherwise, the page loads of user will be drastically impacting the performance. So we have to be very careful. And these are the techniques that we have to measure performance of an API and the page loading time, so that we know that we are in time and the performance is good by looking at these measurements, right? So the first step is the page request and then the server processing time, DOM processing time, and then EPT calculation. So this overall thing comes into the measurement framework where everything is measured and we are going to take a call whether the API performance is accurate or not. If the API has to be, the performance of the API has to be increased, it has to be increased by certain changes to the code, and we could remeasure the changes over here using this technique. And let's delve in deep one by one. So the experience page time metric provides a comprehensive view of page performance, helping organizations identify and resolve bottlenecks. EPT measures the complete user experience from initial request to fully interactive page. Salesforce Lightning Component Framework includes built-in performance analysis tools that track component rendering times, server round trips, and JavaScript execution. These metrics enable developers to optimize critical path and improve overall application responsiveness for end users. So end users are the main things where we consider the solution for. So we talked about the middleware integrations a while back. So here we come. Salesforce has inbuilt MuleSoft integration capability implemented. So wherever we have a Salesforce product, so we can go ahead and use the MuleSoft as well as a middleware. So which will have integrated patterns already exist between these two systems. So the integration will be too easy to establish, and all the patterns are already pre-established between these two systems, right? So Anypoint platform, MuleSoft Anypoint platform serves as Salesforce strategic middleware solution, providing a unified environment for designing, building, managing integrations across the enterprise. Design center for API-led connectivity, exchange for reusable assets and templates, runtime manager for deployment control, right? Deployment flexibility is also one of the key points that we are going to discuss. Enterprises can deploy MuleSoft integrations in various environments to meet their specific requirements and constraints. Club Hub for fully managed deployments, Runtime Fabric for Kubernetes environments, on-premises for data sovereignty needs. MuleSoft API-led connectivity approach promotes reusability through three layers of API systems, processes, and experience. This structure methodology enables organizations to build a network of interconnected APIs that can be combined to create new business capabilities without redundant integration work. So pre-built connector framework that we have already discussed. So we have app exchange connectors, MuleSoft connectors, and external services. Third-party applications with pre-built integrations certified by Salesforce. Right. So these are the third-party applications that are certified by Salesforce. These are an apps that will be available from the app exchange where we can download and use the capability. But mostly these will be paid apps, providing turnkey connectivity to popular enterprise systems like SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft Dynamics. MuleSoft connectors, over 300 pre-built connectors for applications, protocols, and services, featuring standardized connection handling, authentication, and error management. So external services, low-code approach to integrate with REST APIs directly from Flow Builder, allowing business analysts to incorporate external services without custom codes. So Salesforce connector ecosystem dramatically reduces integration complexity and time to market for common integration scenarios. Each connector encapsulates best practices for interacting with sales specific systems, handling authentication, rate limiting, and protocol specific requirements. For custom integration needs, developers can leverage extension points in connector framework to build specialized adapters while inheriting core platform capabilities like logging, monitoring, and security control. So let's go to the next slide. All right. So this is the real-time integration architecture, how it looks like, right? So we talked about platform events, Apex triggers, data capture, and then streaming APIs. So these are the different real-time integration architecture patterns that we have in Salesforce, right? When we talk about platform events, it can be customized, schema-defined events for business processes, Apex triggers, custom logic execution on data changes. Okay. CDC, change data capture, record level changes, tracking and broadcasting. So whenever a record gets updated, created or deleted, so the changes will be broadcasted to the external system. Streaming API, long polling for near real time notifications. So however the streaming works in the external system, the similar pattern streaming API would also work. Salesforce event driven architecture enables real time integration scenarios with minimal latency. Platform events provide a publish subscribe model for custom business events, while change data capture automatically publishes records changes to the subscribe system. So change data captures will only publish to the system where the system subscribe to the changes. Alright, the streaming API supports scenarios requiring immediate notifications of change through a long polling mechanism for high throughput scenarios. The high volume platform events features scale to millions of events per day with guaranteed delivery and replay capabilities. Let's go to the next slide. So we are going to discuss about the security and governance framework here. Right, security, we know that we have an authentication in place. We have different authentications, what JWT and SAML supports. And authorization, we have profile-based permissions and connected app controls. And encryption is followed as TSL encryption. And Salesforce Shield platform encryption is also available. But this Salesforce Shield is a additional security measure that we can purchase from Salesforce. And monitoring. So like we discussed platform events, so that event monitoring and real-time event monitoring can also be happening. So security is a foundation to Salesforce integration architecture. That platform implements OAuth 2.0 for secure delegated access with support for various flows, including web services, user agent, JWT barrier, and SAML assertion. Connected apps provide a governance framework for external integrations with a granular control over API access, IP restrictions, and session policies. For monitoring, event monitoring captures detailed logs of API usage, while Shield platform encryption protects the sensitive data with the tenant specific encryption keys. So for connected apps, we have a different framework in place for authentication. So we have connected app framework where we create a connected app for every external system, and then authentication will be declared at the connected app level. So how scalable and the performance of Salesforce would be is a bulk API like we discussed. If there is a huge volume of data we would like to transfer between two systems, yes, a bulk API is the one. And this is the limitations that we have. REST API is this. Platform events is having a more capability and streaming API is having a less capability. Salesforce multi-tenant architecture incorporates sophisticated mechanisms for scaling integration workloads. The platform's governor limits enforce a fair usage across tenants while allowing for high throughput through optimized API patterns. Like we discussed, for high volume scenarios, bulk API is the pattern that we are going to choose. And within the bulk API, we have an option to choose the batch size. So based on the batch size, the number of records will be processed in a batches. And all the batches will be processed in parallel. So that is one of the major advantage. So the best practices that we have is API-led design, implement system, process, experience API layer to maximize reusability and minimize point-to-point dependency. So batch versus real-time analysis is something that we have. We need to carefully evaluate the latency requirements to choose appropriate integration design pattern. So if there is a huge data that has to be transmitted, we should never go to the real-time analysis. Rather, we should check with business to see if a batch is a best option for them, right? So that the latency doesn't come into the picture. And then performance testing. Conduct load testing under various conditions to identify bottlenecks and establish a reliable throughput metrics for production planning. Error handling and recovery. Implement comprehensive retry logic, dead letter queues, and monitoring alerts to ensure resilience against intermittent failures. Successful Salesforce integrations require careful planning and adherence to establish patterns. API-led connectivity provides a structured approach that promotes reuse and reduces technical debt, while proper separation of synchronization and asynchronous processes prevents performance bottlenecks. Comprehensive error handling is essential for production reliability, including retry mechanisms with exponential backup, dead letter queues for manual intervention, and detailed logging for troubleshooting. Regular performance testing helps identify potential issues before they impact end users. All right. So the key takeaways and the next steps would be architectural assessment is one of the key takeaways, technical implementation, and then performance optimization. So evaluate your current integration landscape against Salesforce best practices. Identify opportunities to implement API-led connectivity and reduce point-to-point dependencies that limit scalability. So technical implementation, start with small, well-defined integration project, build capabilities, establish standard for error handling, logging, and monitoring before scaling to more complex scenarios. Performance optimization, implement comprehensive monitoring for your integration points. Use EPT metrics to identify and resolve the bottlenecks that we have discussed in slide 3, focusing on high impact customer facing processes first. Salesforce integration capabilities continue to evolve rapidly with the new features released in each seasonal updates. Stay informed through release notes and trailhead modules and consider certification paths for technical team members to deepen expertise. Remember that successful integration strategies balance immediate business needs with long-term architectural goals by leveraging Salesforce comprehensive integration platform. Organizations can build connected experiences that scale effectively while maintaining security and performance. So these are the key takeaways that we have. And thank you so much, guys, for hanging around. I hope you enjoyed this talk. Please let me know for any questions. Feel free to ping me on my LinkedIn if you have any other questions, or if you are aspirant of Salesforce integrations or Salesforce ecosystem, please do ping me on my LinkedIn. I am happy to help so that we grow together as a network. All right. Thank you. Thank you all.